What is up, guys? Dzeeff here, and I am finally back from the WCQ. I had a blast. I'll talk about it in a couple of videos later on this week, but for right now, I want to talk about this new archetype. And you may have seen some videos already on it, but I think I have some unique perspective on this archetype, specifically because I've played like the three decks that it seems to be basing itself on, being like Burning Abyss and Subterrors and Dark Worlds. And man, this archetype looks so freaking cool. I just had to talk about it. So it's called the Danger archetype, I suppose. Danger with an exclamation point, which is kind of strange. And all the names have like exclamation points in them too. But these are all based on like folklore, and they actually have 6 cards. They have 4 monsters, a spell, and a trap. Let's just talk about the monsters for right now. So they all have the exact same mechanic. Basically, you reveal it in your hand, and then you put your hand face down, and your opponent randomly discards a card in your hand. Now, if they discard something that's not the card you revealed, or a card with the name of what you revealed, then you special summon the card with the name that you revealed and draw a card. Now, the really cool part, and the reason they're kind of like Dark Worlds, is that they all have effects when discarded. So, for example, the first 4 here are Bigfoot, Nessie, the Jackalope, and the Chupacabra. All of these are kind of reminiscent of Burning Abyss monsters. So Bigfoot is more like a Dark World monster. It's like Grapha. It pops a card when it goes to the graveyard, or when it's discarded. But Nessie is basically Scarm. It searches a card. The Jackalope is basically a Graph. It specials a guy from the deck in defense position. And then the Chupacabra is essentially Seer, because it special summons a guy from the graveyard. And man, that's so much value. Like, just imagine a hand where you have like Nessie, Jackalope, and Chupacabra. And let's say you really want to get that Nessie on board. So you reveal Nessie, and then your opponent discards Jackalope. So what happens is that the Jackalope gets a search effect, or a special summon effect from the deck, and then the Nessie is special summon from your hand, and you draw a card. That's a +2 in card econ. Well, +1 because you had to discard the Jackalope, but it's a really easy +1 that gets 2 monsters on the board. And yeah, I think that's really exciting. Now, there are some downsides. The major downside right now, at least, is that they don't have a Link monster, and they're all different levels. None of them are tuners either, so maybe like the actual win condition will be hard. But Bigfoot, I mean, it has 3,000 attack. That's pretty exciting. But these cards just seem so cool. And one of the things that I've seen a lot of the other reviewers miss is that the discarding effects are once per turn effects, but the special summon effect is not once per turn. Now, I should mention that if your opponent does pick the right card to discard, then you don't get like this any sort of special summon effect. You'll get like a 1-for-1 trade, because basically you discarded a card and then you get one of their effects, so you break even basically. So that's pretty important to note. Like, really with this deck, you're trying to have a whole variety of monsters in your hand, or a variety of cards in your hand, depending on how they turn out. And then you want your opponent to you want to reveal the one that you don't want to discard. So if you want to like pop a card, you don't want to reveal Bigfoot, you might reveal Nessie. But if you want to search a card, then you reveal like Bigfoot, and then hopefully discard the Nessie. And that's the essential strategy of his cards. Now, they do have a field spell, and the Konami site doesn't do a great job of explaining it, so let me just go over here. This is on one of the, I don't even know what language this page is, but they posted these pictures with all their effects. Super useful. Thank you guys for doing that. And this is their field spell. So, Realm of Danger. Your opponent cannot target danger monsters you control with card effects. During the turn, they are special summoned. So it's kind of like the Cosmo spaceship thing. Now, I've mentioned in the past, I don't really like that when they put that on field spells. I think that when you luckily in this case, the monsters themselves are good enough just on their own. But when you make cards that give your monsters non-targeting, it kind of sets up the situation where like they can't print too strong of monsters, because now they have this like crazy field spell. But luckily, it's not just non-targeting forever, which means that they can actually print good danger monsters, so that this doesn't just break them. Also, once per turn, you can target one danger monster you control. While you control that face of monster and this face of card, that monster can attack directly. Also, your opponent's monster cannot target it for attacks, but it does not prevent your opponent from attacking directly. Basically, it's I think they described in the article, it's like Legendary Fisherman with Yumi on the field, or Umi as you guys always say. And so that's kind of neat. It does allow you to just not really have to worry about breaking boards, but just like attack directly. That matters because Bigfoot does have 3,000 attack points, so you can just really get in there. And I mean, other ones don't have that many attack points, but like the Bigfoot, I think, is like your main attacker. I feel like in most cases, the card that you want to reveal from your hand is the Bigfoot. You want to discard the other guys to get some value, but you want that Bigfoot on the field in attack position, ready to do damage. And I guess I can kind of flip through here. This one, they did mistype, but you can look at the thing. So this one special summons from the deck. This one special summons from the grave. this one searches, and it searches any danger card, which is really important because it means that not only is it going to search the monsters, but it can search the field spell and the trap card, which is really good. Talk about that in a second. And but more importantly, whenever these archetype cards get new support down the line, Nessie will always be able to search it, assuming that they're all titled danger and they don't pull like a spiral where they print like spy gals, or they print cards that aren't even related to the archetype, but somehow it's counted in the archetype, not by name though, so it's like part of the series. Just a mess. Hopefully they just stick with printing danger cards, and then this card will actually be able to search everything, so that's really cool. And then the Bigfoot there as well. But the really cool card, and one of the reasons that I'm excited to play this deck, is because of the trap card, which they describe as Graceful Charity, and they're not wrong, actually. So you draw 3 cards and discard 2 cards, including at least 1 danger card, or like you have to shuffle your whole hand into the deck, which sucks, obviously. I'd highly advise just not activating this card if you don't have a danger card in hand, but holy crap, this card is like... Yes, it's a trap card, and that kind of sucks, but that is, like, serious value. I mean, just think of, like, the kind of stuff you can do with, it's called Danger Zone, how Konami loves their puns. But yeah, just think about, like, the serious value you can get from Danger Zone. Like, even if you just have, like, if you have any of these cards, right, the card itself is, like, an even in card economy. You draw 3, you lose 2 cards in your hand and the Danger Zone itself, but then you get a free +1 with any of the cards you discarded. You fixed your entire hand because you had, that's a lot of people ask why like Graceful Charity is so good, and it's not so much just because of the drawing, it's because you get to choose what you discard after you draw the cards. So even if like 2 of the 3 cards you draw are bad, you can just ditch them immediately, and then you just drew 1 card for free, basically like an Upstart Goblin, which isn't terrible by any means. But in this case, you're actually triggering the effects of the cards, and you can even discard 2 danger monsters, which would be just insane. Then you're getting like a +2. That's really good. And then, I don't know if people are going to blend these with Dark Worlds or Burning Abyss. I don't think Burning Abyss is the right choice. Jackalope is a level 3 monster, but I don't think there's like a ton of synergy there, but... Excuse me. Dark Worlds, I think, are really interesting just because, like, yeah, you could sort of, aren't even fiends? Let's see. Chupacabra's a fiend. I don't know. I think that this deck, people have been asking me on Twitter, like, what do I think of about Danger with just these 6 cards revealed? I think they're not as good as Burning Abyss when they were first out, mainly because they are lacking an extra deck monster. I think that it wouldn't surprise me if they get an extra deck monster, because it seems like that's what they want them to do. We can kind of look at the fact that Jackalope special summons the thing in defense position. That sort of implies that they don't want you just OTKing with the monsters. Otherwise, yeah, the card would be pretty broken, summoning the Bigfoot from the deck and just hitting for 3,000 directly. But I think the reason that these will get an extra deck is because they're all different levels. None of them are tuners, nothing like that. But I don't think they're like as bad as Subterrors or Spirals or FAs, any of those archetypes when they first came out. I think these cards are right in the spot of Cosmos when they first came out. They weren't the best deck by any means, and they weren't actually that cheap either, because Farm Girl was really expensive back then, but they were a solid rogue deck. They saw a competitive play, and this deck will... almost certainly, just by the very nature of the fact that they have a Seer, Graph, and Scarm, and then a Grapha, it seems like it would be astronomically just like unlikely for these cards not to see any sort of experimentation, any sort of play. Yes, a lot of this deck is sort of RNG based. You certainly can have some discards that you're not really happy with, but I think the design of it and the way that you want to build your deck is just to have as many ways as possible, just to make sure your hand is only danger cards. Now, where that sort of falls flat is that it kind of screws you up if you play a lot of hand traps. So maybe you just play like 3 Ash Blossom and not Droll, because you really do want to discard the danger cards, specifically the danger monster cards, with the other monsters' effects, and I think that's really important. So from a deck building perspective, this deck's really interesting, but I think where this deck will really shine is as they get more support, hopefully, presumably main deck support with more monsters, and you can just play like an almost entirely danger deck. Kind of think of like Cardians, where like a lot of I don't really know how to play a deck very well. I know that a lot of them have like the effect where like you draw a card and if it's a Cardian you special summon it. Kind of think of Danger like that, where like you want to play as many danger cards as possible just to guarantee that your whole hand is going to be full of them, so that even if you so no matter what your opponent picks, you're always sort of plussing in card economy. Obviously, you want your opponent to pick the one that you don't reveal, so that not only do you get the discarding effect of a monster hand, but you also get a special summon effect and you also get a draw effect. But even if your opponent picks one you reveal, not the end of the world by any means. And anyway, though, what do you guys think about this archetype? I actually think it's pretty darn good. I am fairly excited for it. Like I said, I think this is sort of like Burning Abyss and Subterra's and Dark World. Hopefully, it's like the good version of all those cards. Like, it's not like the problems with Dark Worlds and Subterra's, kind of that they just sit in your hand a lot of times. But these cards just special summon themselves immediately, assuming that you don't actually hit the card that you reveal. I'm really excited, though. What do you guys think about it? Let me know in the comments. And in the next couple days, we'll have some more WCQ videos. I did win a regional flight, so I have my invite for the 2019 WCQ, which is really exciting, but also a lot of other funny stuff happened. I'll talk about that in a video later this week. So I'll see you guys later. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.